you don't throw something into a drawing that suddenly interrupts a form with something that just would not occur in nature. And one of the things with birches, and one of the reasons I put a conifer up against a birch tree, is they do have that clear difference. Conifers, whether it's a spruce or a hemlock or whatever, there's a lot of brush and clutter around them because as they grow up, the lower branches die off and become part of that clutter. It's part of what the form is for those trees. And it's only the taller, older trees that you'll really get all the vegetation at the top. And particularly if you're from or drawing something from the northwestern parts of North America with redwoods and so on, that you get very distinctively different shapes. But with birches, it tends to be a long, narrow trunk, the distinctive bark pattern, which I'm going to do more on in a moment, and all your leaf patterns are going to be up on the top. And I'm not worried about drawing the leaves. I'm just creating the look of masses up here. Birch trees tend to be, if they're healthy, a lot of leafy growth at the top, and I'm not worrying about drawing the individual birch leaves. I'm just trying to catch that look and feel of the masses. And the only branches that are going to be up there are ones that are growing sideways or up, because something is carrying those leafy masses. And that contrasts nicely in the context of this drawing with what's happening with the conifer tree over on the right. Is this working for everybody? And see how easy it looks? I'm just sort of spazzing around on the paper. But it really does come down to sort of training your eye and learning to catch those shapes. You know, it's really only the naturalists and the tree surgeons and the environmentalists out there that are going to worry about whether you got the root pattern, you know, technically right or so on. For most people, it's just going to be, does it look right to the layman eye? Does it look correct? And that's what, you know, choosing these forms and shapes and laying them down as simply as you can is all about. All right, I'm now going to go in with my better brush and try to pull this together a little bit. And I'm also going to be using the razor blade in a moment. And not on myself. I don't recommend doing that. All right, I've got a lot of blobs of ink on here. I don't know if you guys can see how much wet ink there is around here. So I'm going to take a quick dab will do ya. And again, I'm not worried at this point if by dabbing the ink I'm spreading it around or smearing it, because that will become part of the drawing. It's in the final cleanup stage that I worry about that. In fact, if I had been smart, I would be dabbing up wet areas and creating patterns up here, but I didn't think of that until just now. All right, I'm going to go in now with my better brush. Again, I'm using a number 4 watercolor brush. This is artificial sable hair, and I get good results out of these. All right, I want to now put a little more work and detail into this birch, and part of what it is all tree trunks are cylinders. So I want to, where I was just sort of laying in these patterns very expressionistically with the first set of strokes that I put down, I'm now going to give a little more attention to making sure that with this finer brush work, I'm getting the edge of a cylinder, that I'm describing the shape of the tree trunk, that it goes around. And if you got any questions, just shout them out at this stage, because I'm ready for you. Now, birch patterns. Again, I tend to shy away from symmetry. Some birches, and there are different kinds of birches. There's silver birches, there's white birches, and so on and so forth. But it's the rough birch pattern that most of us recognize, of that papery white trunk with bands of black that go around it. It's sort of like if you're drawing a zebra, who cares where the bands go, as long as it comes out looking like a zebra. Okay, how's that look? And now, using the brush, this my better brush, I'm going to tighten up these leaf patterns a bit. And now I am going to try to do a little bit of delineation of leaf patterns. My final delineation is all going to be with the whiteout. Let's do a quick wrap up. Okay, so there's the finished drawing. And we're running over time, so I'm just going to quickly show you what I was going to do with the razor blade. I'm going to use the blade to actually cut in some of the root shapes. See how I'm doing this? And again, broad strokes are good. And I deliberately left this area open for this effect because I want these to be rough, natty looking root shapes. I'm also going to use it over here, and I'm cutting right into where I did the cross hatching. And there's another thing I'm going to do with this blade, which is I want to create the texture of this tree. Now, you've got to make sure you do this only if you've got 3-ply or thicker paper. There needs to be enough of a surface to the paper that you've got something to scrape up with the blade. But I could not create that texture with my hand using whiteout. It would look too deliberate if I was trying to put it in with whiteout. And part of it is using the blade to create those textures to really give it that sort of rough look. Okay, hope you enjoyed it. We'll do another one another time. Thanks for coming, folks.